going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files Going Deeper edition. And boy, do we have a great episode for you. The wonderful and delightful Ashley Greene, you know her, you love her from the hit franchise
saga, cultural institution,
Twilight, Empire of Love and
Dynasty.
Dynasty, Twilight. She is with us. Also, we have the wonderful couple of Nick and Danielle from Love is Blind 2 for our mediation call. A slightly different mediation call, but it was, I think they wanted to present a united front. But I feel like there's some nice takeaways. Either way, we enjoyed talking to Nick and Danielle. So be sure to check our mediation call at the end of this episode with Ashley. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K. Remember that next week we have 4 episodes. It's going to be a lot of Bachelor with the finale. We have 2 Bachelor recaps. We have one of what we've been told is the angriest of Clayton's suitors coming directly from AFR to this seat. So you won't want to miss next week's Bachelor. Well, it's a big Bachelor week next week. So our Going Deeper episode, and there will be a mediation with this person. So we're still gonna give you the new format. So anyway, that's a lot to cover. Ladies, how are you doing?
I just had the visual of if we got the runner-up and she had to mediate Clayton and his first choice.
That would be the dream. Should we see?
Can we do it?
I think Clayton's single.
You think he's single?
What if she mediates Clayton and himself?
That'd be great. God, what a trifecta. We work hard on the show to bring you topical, relevant guests, and we will continue to do so. And if you like this show, I don't know, you could give us a 5-star review on Spotify or iTunes. Just give us 5 stars, because we know we're probably pissing people off with, like me saying, maybe Shanae isn't the devil, or maybe this, I don't know, but because I'm sure someone gave us a 1 star for disagreeing with us.
Absolutely.
Anything new with you ladies in this world?
I feel like I don't know, like what do you call it? Like astronomy? When
astrology?
things happen. Yeah. I just got a DM from someone that I matched with on a dating app at least 6 months ago, if not more so.
Just now?
Yes. 5 hours ago. And we matched on, I think it was Hinge. And he was like, oh, I'm rarely on here. Like, let's follow each other on Insta and we can DM on there. I haven't clicked on the DM, so I don't remember if we ever corresponded on there. But I've been following him on Instagram ever since. We never went on a date. And I'm kind of
You did follow him.
Yeah, he followed me too. It was like a mutual thing, but I'd never, he was going on trips and hanging out with people. I'm like, I don't know you yet. I've been following you. And now he's slid back into my DMs, which I just think is interesting timing. And I have no motivation to.
He's clearly going through something. He's going through a season of new beginnings. He's trying to clean out, start fresh. Maybe he got out of a situationship of some kind and he's circling back.
This happened to me with a different dude, though. Do you remember that in the fall? He popped back up after not ghosting me because we didn't really have a thing, but didn't hear from him for months. And then he was like, I was like, what is the point? Just find someone new.
I think this is a very common dating app behavior between men and women. I think it's partly because of the abundance of choice and we kind of lose people in the shuffle. And I think during certain periods where people are kind of reflecting, or maybe they were feeling themselves and getting a lot of matches and things feel a little slow right now, we have a tendency of going back and checking old messages and being like, wait,
she was awesome.
Why
didn't I ever?
He saw my post with matching outfits with my dog and he said her.
The
future mother of my children.
I had that once where it was kind of a similar thing where I remember someone came up on Instagram and I was like, I think I've matched with her a while back. And I went back and looked, and sure as I did, and we went out. She's great, but we didn't work out. But she actually became a friend and a really cool person. And so it can happen, But yeah, I think it comes from people in just different emotional states of mind. When
clearly I was interested in you at some point, but based on the fact that it never went into anything, and now you're sliding back in this many months later, it's makes me just not want to give you any sort of chance.
I didn't know
bad?
you did. I think it's a bit short-sighted. I don't think you need to go out with him.
Yeah.
But I think what you're seeing from him is a very relatable state of mind that people do. And you have to remember that you didn't know him then, and you don't know him now, and vice versa.
Don't know a single thing about him.
Exactly. Anyway, we have a great episode. Let's get right to it because the wonderful Ashley Greene, Nick, and Danielle are all waiting for you guys to enjoy. Don't forget to send in those questions. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So excited to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So much to talk about. Well, let's get right into. People know you from obviously the Twilight franchise.
Yes.
And
all of its might.
all of its might. And I recently saw the Batman movie this weekend.
Yes.
Have you seen it yet?
I'm so jealous. No, I haven't seen it yet.
For those of you who care, I thought it was really good. I thought The Dark Knight was better. It was, but I think if people.
What made it better for you?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you can't really argue that.
And yeah, it was probably just Heath Ledger. I think the villains were a little bit better. Although it was, I think I was probably just Heath. It was, I think,
Yeah.
and I think at the time it was so new in terms of how we saw those Batman movies portrayed and the realness and the kind of
The
authenticity,
grit, yeah.
the grit. And I thought this one was definitely more of a detective movie, as people say. Like, I don't like people are comparing it to Seven
Mhm.
because that's if you start comparing it to the movie Seven, I feel like you lose me a little bit because it still was a PG-13 comic book movie.
Yeah.
And it had a little bit of cheese in it. Not too much cheese, but like
gonna happen.
Seven has. You can't compare it to Seven.
How was Rob?
I thought he was really good.
Okay.
He was.
I predicted this.
He was awesome. He
Yeah.
was like when he got casted. Yeah, I was probably on the side of like, but I remember when Heath Ledger got casted for Joker, and I was like, this pretty boy.
Yeah. I just think Rob has this ability, like he always takes something and you can see it's distinctly his own. And there's always a really he has a very artistic spin on things. And I think, I don't know, I think he's such a phenomenal actor. And I think it took a long time for people to separate him from Twilight. And I feel like he's finally in that space now.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine, but yeah, he was really good. He put this like, I liked the very kind of emo kind of edginess to his Bruce Wayne interpretation and I thought Christian Bale was phenomenal.
Love Christian Bale.
And he's like this.
It's a whole nother conversation.
It's like, yeah, and I think Rob was so good that you just don't want to compare the two.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
he
They
made it
both
his own. He's
stand
his
on
own.
their own, but Christian Bale was. If you are going to compare, Christian Bale, he definitely plays the suave, pretty boy so well because he can clean up,
Yeah.
real good.
Oh, don't we know it?
And Rob's Bruce Willis Batman, he kind of had this very kind of dark emo. I liked that he looked more traumatized.
But
Where-
which kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
I think
right?
If you look at the story, yeah.
It seems more like a real, like, okay, this was more believable for a guy whose parents died and decided to give up his whole life to like fight crime, which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy.
It's traumatizing.
You know, and I like that kind of real spin. So I thought it was really good. I mean the only thing is I think, and I saw an interview where he talked about this. He's not a large guy. He's 6'1", but he is thin.
Yeah.
And I thought the way they shot it, sometimes you'd almost want them because they can cheat that stuff. And I wish they would have cheated it to make him look a little bit more
Yeah, that like
intimidating.
superhero Batman.
But I'm nitpicking. It was really good. He was phenomenal.
I'm gonna ask you for reviews on movies all the time now because I feel like you actually give like a full perspective reason.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like movies and I like critiquing them. And then I went home and I had this super weird dream about Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner.
Please tell me what happened.
I was in a minivan.
Oh God, this is starting well.
Rob was driving and I was sitting shotgun and we were just shooting the breeze. And Robert Pattinson was telling me about this recent trip he took to New York and he was shopping at all these thrift stores and he was basically like, I think looking for like rosaries and he was like taking the ends of the rosaries and refurbishing them into making like his own jewelry.
Seems not so far fetched.
Right? I almost seem kind of believable, but in a weird, like sometimes when you have dreams, like it's like, it's them, but they're like playing almost two or three different like
Yeah.
characters from your point of view almost.
Mhm.
And he was both Batman, but also like he was on The Bachelor. And I was like talking to him about his time on The Bachelor. And then we were driving in this like shitty minivan.
Mhm.
And out of nowhere, Taylor Lautner came out of a floral shop. And I've met Taylor before. He's a very nice guy. He's a big Bachelor fan. So I wouldn't call him like a friend, but we have
You're
interacted.
friendly,
We're
yeah.
friendly. We follow each other on the ground. We like each other's pictures.
Yeah.
Nice guy. And so I only bring that up because in the dream, we did a double take and we recognized each other, and Taylor Lautner like stopped me, not Rob. And
You were Bella. You truly
and
were.
I like introduced them, and they were like kind of like awkward with each other, I guess like in Twilight.
Yeah.
And then Taylor was like, I'm like, all right, well, bye. And then Taylor stopped. He's like, oh, I got to get a selfie. And then we all took a picture,
This is
and that was
amazing.
the dream.
That's-
And then I woke up. I don't know.
I hope you woke up glowing.
I don't know why we dream about some of the weirdest things or weirdest people who don't like. Yeah, I saw the Batman, but it was a very specific dream about people who I honestly really don't know, but very involved with
Yeah,
them.
it just like, I mean, that makes sense because you just saw Batman. I literally just had a dream about Ryan Seacrest and was like, what? But I walked in and my husband, he was watching American Idol. So it all makes sense. But like me and Ryan were like, he was just very excited to see me and we were like homies. And I was like, this would never happen in real life. But that was like
you were best friends.
Yeah, he was just like, Ashley, he was so excited to see me. And I was like, this is great, but not real. Would not happen.
Apparently, Canva Pro helps make this show go round.
It does.
Tell us more, Allie.
It's everything. Like if you go to our social media, it's everything from like our highlights on our Instagram, the little circles. We made those icons.
Canva has all these awesome, if you get the pro version, you get all of these amazing designs and logos. You can do invitations. My cousin's getting married. She designed her wedding invitations on Canva and save the date. Like it truly, anything you could possibly want to look nice.
So you don't have to be digital content creators for a award-winning hit popular podcast. You could just be...
We've been here for over a year, and I guarantee we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for that.
But for the people at home,
Yeah.
if you're planning a wedding or you are
If you
just
want to
maybe
look-
throwing a party,
Yeah.
basically you want to put out professional looking content when you're not a professional. Let Canva be the professional that you need.
It does it all for you.
Canva Pro has endless premium fonts, photos, videos, and so much more that add personality and edge to whatever it is you are designing. Plus, you and your 4 teammates can unlock everything Canva Pro has to offer for just $12.99 a month. Canva Pro Content Planner, you'll save time planning, creating, and posting on social media content too. Pause scheduled posts and edit them at any time. Design like a pro with Canva Pro. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you use my promo code. Just go to canva.me/VIALL to get your free 45-day extended trial. Canva, that's canva.me/VIALL. Canva.me/VIALL. Hey, all you language people out there, now is the time to not just be speaking one language. The world is becoming multicultural. We are integrating with each other, and let's learn a little bit more. We're all traveling more, and stop with that like terrible and embarrassing thing that Americans do when they travel and they speak in slower English. You know what I'm talking about if you're listening. Start learning a second language, and honestly, with Babbel, you can learn just a little bit to like help you, if you like traveling to France or Germany, at least maybe order in their in the language that they speak in that country. Their 15-minute lessons make it a perfect way to learn a language on the go. Spanish, French, Italian, and German, 14 different languages they have available to you. Their speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. And there are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can access podcasts, games, video stories, and even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. So start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. And Amanda, you have been also using it to augment your training that you get from your grandfather.
Absolutely. Because my grandfather goes to bed very early. We can't have a lesson every single day, but I feel like with language, it's all about that repetition. It's about kind of just practicing, even if it's for a tiny 15-minute chunk. And so Babbel is perfect.
Join over the 10 million people who have already subscribed to Babbel. Right now, you can purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription. You'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months. just for the price of 3. So go to Babbel.com and use promo code VIALL. That is BABBEL.com. Code VIALL. Babbel, language for life. Are you watching Euphoria?
Yeah, I haven't seen the last episode, so don't ruin it. But everyone who's seen it, I'm like, how are they going to wrap up all of these loose ends? Like, I feel like there's so much going on.
Well,
They don't.
They don't.
They don't. Oh.
No, I don't feel like a loose
Clearly,
end
you can make a
wrapped up.
season 3 very, very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing was really wrapped
No.
up. I mean, shit went down.
Went down.
And you're really curious if some people will be back or not, but there definitely was no closure.
Oh.
Like if
I'm used to the traditional shows where they give you closure. But that makes sense. I mean, the show is insane. I love it so much. I think it's genius.
I was going to ask, is there, because sometimes people will be like, Euphoria crossed a line on Twitter. Has there been any moments for you that you're like, okay, a little too far?
I hope that next season doesn't get just like wildly more insane, because then I think at that point I'd be like, I was just having this conversation with someone on how like there are certain shows like with Succession, same thing. I'm like, how much more drama and how much more can they add into it without crossing that line? Because this is a drama and it's not a soap. So hopefully they don't go too far. But I don't know. There's something about that show that just keeps you watching, and I think there's a method to their madness, and just like the shots that they do and the DP, like it's just I don't know, it's beautiful.
It's beautifully shot. I didn't realize they used that film. What's it called? It's been discontinued. So like
that
shooting
they had made specifically.
Yeah, so like shooting Euphoria is wildly expensive. Apparently, like the budget for Euphoria was as large as the series finale of Game of Thrones. Like it's this, like that's
just
insane.
all the time.
Apparently, because they are basically getting, what's the name of that film? It's like
It's some sort of Kodak, right?
yes, it's a Kodak film. It's like it's a well-known, but they discontinued it, and they basically got Kodak to make it again just so they could shoot Euphoria, which is
Now
kind
it's
of
going to be called Kodak Euphoria film.
But it's beautifully made. Do we have it?
35 millimeter?
I don't know. Yeah, it has a specific name though.
Ektachrome?
Yeah.
Look at you.
The hypersexuality of high school students, though, is a little, I think, I had to like numb myself to what is Euphoria. But when my girlfriend Natalie was like, hey, I want to watch season 2 of Euphoria. And I'm like, I haven't seen it yet. So we watched season 1 together. And the first 2 episodes, I was like, I don't know if I could take this. Like it was heavy.
But apparently it is not so far off. I imagine like there are certain towns in the Midwest that this is as far away
I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God.
But when you look at New York and LA and Miami, I'm sure it's crazy to think about, but this is some things that actually happen in high school now.
Yeah, I guess. But I did get used to it because
Yeah.
I really liked the show. I mean, it took me 3 or 4 episodes and now they'd be like, let's watch. I'm like, okay. But by like episode 4 or 5, I was definitely,
I'm like,
what happens next?
I am
kind
like
of, I was in.
desensitized to it now. That's
And I don't
probably a
know
bad thing.
I don't know if I was desensitized to it. I don't know.
It's wild. Definitely would not watch that one with my parents. I watched the first episode of Black Mirror with my mother-in-law, and it was the worst decision I ever made. I don't know if you remember that first episode, but
Remind me.
it's where basically a mayor or president or something, or prime minister, I think was English, and this person said, we kidnapped this person unless you have sex with a pig on live TV, we're going to kill her. And he goes through with it, and it's like this whole thing, and then you see the aftermath of what it's done with his relationship, and it's just super dark and super.
You watch it with your mom?
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into. My mother-in-law, not my mom.
Oh, your mother-in-law.
That would have been better.
Even
Worse. Yeah.
I would. Have you watched? Like, do you remember the first like sex scene you watched like in your parents' company?
My grandmother took me to see Hangover 2, which has full frontal nudity.
Oh, that's amazing. How'd she handle it? She's loved it.
Phyllis is a chiller.
Your grandma's name is Phyllis too?
I love
We have
Phyllis.
gone over this multiple times. You
Sorry.
both have grandmas named Phyllis.
What are your grandma's names?
My one well, they're both passed now, but Grandma Bobby was one, and then the other one I just called Meemaw, but her name is Lucky.
Lucky?
Oh my God, fantastic grandma name.
I know.
That's really great. I just I grew up very obviously conservative, so like watching. We didn't even talk about sex growing up,
Yeah.
and something. There was like heavy makeouts when I was a kid. My parents were like cover your eyes and fast forwarded. So
Oh yeah.
like even like as an adult, watching like nudity. If there was a movie and there's any type of nudity, I'm still uncomfortable watching it with
Yeah,
my
same.
parents.
We didn't I wasn't allowed to watch Dawson's Creek growing up. They didn't let me watch The Simpsons. We also had until I was a teenager, we could only watch an hour of TV a day, and it was like Little House on the Prairie or Alex Mack.
It sounds like my childhood.
Yeah.
It sounds, yeah. mhm.
Eerily
When I grew up,
similar.
kids would tease me by saying I wasn't even allowed to watch Bambi.
You're like, yes, I am.
I'd always have a couple friends, and I'd sneak over to their house and watch the Van Damme movies and the Steven Seagals. Like that was
Oh yeah.
back in the day.
I watched the first one I remember that had an impact on me is I went to my cousin's house and watched Interview with the Vampire.
I love that movie.
Yeah, which I just love, but I was also just in shock.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Have you ever on planes? Do you avoid? I avoid watching rated R movies because there is nothing more uncomfortable than
Oh, yeah.
watching a movie and there's like this sex scene on it and you feel like
You're exposed.
I mean, yeah, you feel like such a creep.
If you're into it, if you're paying attention, you're like, I look like such a weirdo.
I'm just always like covering the screen, and then if you try to cover, you're like, why am I?
Yeah,
Just-
it looks like
yeah.
much
I'm
sketchier.
like, oh, turn it off. Turn. I've had that.
Turn the brightness
So
all
now
the way
I just
down.
now I just watch movies that I know
PG-13s.
what's in PG-13. I like watching
Oh,
movies
yeah.
I've seen before on movie theater on planes. I'm not looking for something new.
Mm.
I'm looking for something nostalgic on airplanes.
I don't know. I actually, this is probably maybe horrible to admit, but I watched Spencer on the plane because I had never seen it and was like, I need to watch this
What's
movie.
Spencer?
It's Kristen Stewart.
As Princess Diana.
yeah.
Diana
how was
Spencer.
that?
She just got nominated.
Mhm.
But I was like, I need to have watched this, and she's phenomenal.
She's great.
She does a really great
So
job.
I should watch it.
I heard she was fantastic, but the plot line itself was pretty slow.
Yes,
what my guy
I
friend
can
said.
confirm that.
Well, on the topic of actresses, there's the Madonna biopic coming out. And right now there is it's down to 5 allegedly actresses competing for the role. There's Florence Pugh, Julia Garner, Alexa Demi from Euphoria, Odessa Young, and Emma Laird.
And
Florence
Ashley
Pugh
Greene.
has that Madonna.
And
has
Ashley
a
Greene.
ton of that. Are you going for it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd
great.
be so good.
Oh,
Mm.
my girlfriend Natalie asked me this question. Who do you think is Kim Kardashian at the level of like being recognized? Like who's a more recognizable? Like Marilyn, like is she at Marilyn Monroe level where like if you are in a if you have first world problems and you have a TV and the internet, like do you know who Marilyn Monroe is, right? Like you've
Yeah.
heard the name. Like you may
Mhm.
not might not be able to place her, but you've heard the name. Is
Which
Kim
is-
Kardashian on
That's
that level?
so sad to think about people not being able to place Marilyn Monroe.
I would say
Whew.
even more so
Yeah,
because
Kim
of how many photos and videos we have
You
of
think
her.
Kim Kardashian's more
Yeah.
is
recognizable?
everywhere. Yeah,
Because I think any photo you've seen of Marilyn Monroe is like one of the few that everyone has seen.
hmm
But I just feel like we have so much more access to Kim.
But I feel like when Marilyn Monroe was a sex symbol, there weren't as many. So it was like a singular
Mm.
focus versus
yeah.
I
That's
agree.
what I'm saying. Like when you were like born and by the age of 4, at some point you've been exposed to like some picture. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of
Did
people.
you hear the thing though that someone was with Marilyn Monroe and she was walking around and no one recognized her? And then she turned to her friend and was like, "Do you want me to become her?" Her being this persona. And just turned on a whole different light of her and suddenly everyone noticed she was there.
She just said
that's wild.
Yeah.
But makes sense. But I mean, makes sense because because everything was so curated at that
Mhm.
point that you only ever saw her as this like goddess sex symbol. And so if she wasn't exuding that,
hmm
people didn't recognize it.
She
Yeah,
just
but
had like her eyes down.
didn't-
What a
almost.
life.
you didn't see. There wasn't like obviously social media, so she had to be wearing the dresses or whatever. We've seen Kim Kardashian in the sweatpants and the leggings and things like that. So we've seen her in all the looks where like there's only a limited amount of pictures of
Yeah.
certain celebrities. I always loved that Charlie Chapman took 3rd place in the Charlie Chapman lookalike contest.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Anyways, the Madonna biopic.
Well, yeah, I was wondering who would you want to star in the biopic of their life, or who would you want to play you in a biopic?
This one's taken, but I love Audrey Hepburn, so that would have been a dream. But I
Yeah,
also think
you
Rooney
coulda-
Mara is going to crush it.
You look, you could have definitely done that.
Yeah, just put on some prosthetics and just love her. To play me, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they're not around yet. That's such a hard one because I think it's you just never look at yourself as being a character. So I'm like, I have absolutely no idea.
Would your biopic be more of a drama, a comedy? Would it be a love story? Like what kind of vibe would it have?
It would be a psychological thriller. No. Probably it would be a dramedy. Like I feel like my life is there's like a lot of things going on, but we have a lot of fun. My husband always says, he's like, why don't you just let the world see you because you're fucking funny. But yeah, so I think it would be a dramedy.
Has your husband always told you were funny, or is it something that he's
I think the more
noticing
like
recently about you?
I was since we've been married, but which is like almost 4 years now, but it took me like I was very slow to open up to a lot of people. And I think part of that comes with the territory of Twilight. Like when you're 20 and you're thrust into this world, like I was very specific about who I let into my life. And so he now sees all of me and swears that he's rubbed off on me and that I've gotten funnier.
Oh, so it's
It's
He's the reason?
he takes
He took
credit.
credit?
He takes full credit for me now being a fun person.
How did you meet your husband?
We met. So I moved to LA and I became the girl in a group of 5 guys, and they were my best friends for like 5 years. And then he ended up moving in with one of those guys and became a part of the homie crew. And then he and I were just friends for 5 years. And
You were
then,
friends for 5 years.
Yeah.
Who made the first move?
I did. Yeah, I was very.
Was it right to dating, or was there like a bit of a situationship where you guys kind of had to play I think I have feelings for my friend?
I was pretty direct. So the guy group that I'm in, like he watched people take their shot, and like my whole thing was don't fuck in the friend circle. Like this is why they're still like my brothers today, and so I was very uninterested in dating anyone within my friend group. And he was included in that. And then one day he ended up coming over and he brought me an orchid. We talked for like 2 hours. And it was the first time we were really alone because I always hung out with these guys together. And I was just like, oh shit, there's something there. And then after that, I was like, I'm going to pursue this. And so I like showed up at he used to bartend. And I would just show up at his work like 2 or 3 times a week. And then like 2 weeks in, he was like, okay, fine. But it was like we didn't tell anyone for months. And it was a really like hush hush thing because our friends were not happy about it. Because you got to understand, like they're very much like what happens when you guys break up.
They cared about the group dynamic.
The dynamic, yeah. They were like, guys, what are you
with our group?
What are you doing? So rightfully so, they were a little, they were hesitant and a little upset. And it took about a month probably for people to get used to it.
How long did you guys date for before?
We dated for, I think, 4 years. And then we were engaged for 1.5 years. So, I mean,
married.
it's sticking.
Yeah, sounds like it's going quite well. And
Yeah.
now, thanks to him, you're funny.
Now, thanks to him, I'm a funny human and I enjoy life.
What do you think about destination weddings?
If they're in Italy, I'm all for it.
Did you guys have one in Italy?
We did ours in the Redwoods in San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't too far.
Natalie asked me what I thought about destination weddings last night.
It depends if you if you have a ton of people, like you don't necessarily want to have the pressure to invite you to a destination wedding because it cuts down your guest list.
Cuts them off.
Didn't your cousin have one in Mexico?
I've been to plenty. I don't think.
You want to do it in Wisconsin?
No.
Oh,
that's like.
I don't.
Not
maybe.
an exciting.
Maybe.
Actually, my friend's getting married. She won't do it in Wisconsin. I think it's in Chicago, but she's from Wisconsin.
She is?
Yeah.
I kind of want to like some sort of outdoor. I want it to be as simple as possible.
I'm like an outside person. You know, it's funny. My husband I was like, I could do 50 people. Like I was very, I like think it's intimate. Like even like I canceled my own birthday party because it was like too much pressure. And I was like, I just want to have a dinner.
Yeah, I really want, I do not want to have a wedding for other people.
Yeah, which is so smart because it's yours.
I'm not interested in that. I don't need a big production. I've been lucky enough that I've I've been a part of big productions that I don't need to.
For sure.
I don't need to do that, and I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't want to, and I feel like destination weddings are simpler in some aspects, but they're also a bit of a production with so many people traveling, and also like my experience with destination weddings is usually somewhere hot and tropical, and as we saw with our
Nick and Danielle's
who
wedding.
we'll have the pleasure of talking to, like I have sweat so bad at so many destination weddings. Everyone's just so uncomfortable and sticky and buggy, and usually happens like during the hot summer
balmy months.
And I just like, I don't know, not
I feel like
for
if that's
me.
like your gut instinct, then you go with it, right? And honestly, that was one of the smartest choices we made. We had 112 people. And I was the jerk who was like, you don't get a +1 unless like I know like I wanted everyone there for us to have an intimate relationship with, so that it didn't feel like work. It was like you were just celebrating with your closest friends and family.
So no one, if you weren't dating, you didn't get a random.
If you were
+1.
dating someone and and it was new, they couldn't come.
I love that.
My sister's wedding planner was like, unless they're engaged, living together, or like married, they don't get to come.
Yeah. Because honestly, those things are fleeting. And like, I just, I was like, I want this to be a beautiful moment. I don't want to feel like I have to like entertain anything. And it was, it ended up being wonderful. It was like the best choice we made, even though it was a little stressful at the time.
I love that. And I think I have such a strong opinion because I have 10 siblings. And
oh my God.
So Nick's going to have 112 just by inviting immediate
Holy
family.
crap.
No, and it's one of those things where everyone, you have so many people and there's so many personalities, and we call them the older kids. So I'm the second oldest. There's 3 older ones, and there's like this different dynamic between some of the older ones and the younger ones. And yet, like when we started dating in our late teens or in our teens or in 20s, we'd want them like have them for the family events and in pictures of stuff, right? And we've had so many like random people from our past in these fucking family pictures. And like recently, like now, like some of the younger ones are like older now and they're dating, and we do these family photos and everyone's insisting on having like their partner in it. And it's just like, we have all these fucking like random people like in these family fucking photos. And, and we did it, and I get it, but it's.
Do you guys do now? Like I would just like, sure, we can take one with them and then one without.
Yeah, we do that, but and then like some of the girlfriends are like, they're all like close, and they're like, we should get one of us, and like
oh yeah,
it's
that awkward thing.
It's
wow, so you're gonna have
whatever.
a big wedding.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Even my family, I have to invite a lot of people.
Was it like all? What are your parents still together? Or was it like one side? It was not a blended family.
No, it's just a big Catholic, big
bless your
Catholic
mom.
family from Wisco.
So many babies,
Yeah,
and you seem pretty normal.
normal-ish. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm a weird guy, but like normal.
but weird in the best ways.
And I do like my family is normal.
yeah.
Like, and I say that because I think there's always like Duggars. It didn't work out very well. Like some of them are in
So
jail.
sorry, I just unintentionally
John and
judged
Kate.
you and your
Yeah.
family.
No, yeah, I get it. I hate the movie Cheaper by the Dozen because that was like, it's not how it is.
Yeah.
It's not that insane. No, we're just normal and large and loud. I think we're just loud.
Boisterous.
Yeah. So you watched the Love is Blind reunion.
I did.
What did you think?
I mean, bless the people who are able to go through this. Again, like I'm so slow to open up that I was just like, this would never, ever be for me. And I'm so curious. Like, I would love to understand where these people are in their life and how they're kind of just so open to this process, which clearly it does work sometimes. But to me, it's just such a curious thing where I'm just like, of course, you're going to run into some issues because you just don't know the person. And I think that's something, the only thing I would say is that like it takes time. So, I think if each of the people are like fully committed to really growing with one another, great. But I just feel like it's such a hard thing to do at that age.
They're like married now. I mean, getting engaged on The Bachelor is one thing.
That's what I said. That's why I had this whole conversation where I was like, Bachelor, totally understand it, can get behind it. Like at this point, everyone's like, we're going to have this intense, relationship. And I assume you get to know each other really quickly and in a way that other people probably can't understand. But then you get engaged, and like a lot of the people coming out of the show
You decompress.
they have
and you
years
have to,
and years of an engagement.
Yeah. It is wild. I don't know. On the reunion, I had problems with how the show did the reunion. And
It was a strange reunion.
well, you definitely, it's just like, it's a great show and a great concept, but like, it's like it's not the Bachelor production where they do it was a more kind of casual. It's also, I kind of like it too with it being on Netflix. There's dropping like Vanessa Lachey is dropping
my God.
F-bombs.
I was like, yo, she's about to jump over that table. You
Also,
better be
Vanessa
careful.
Lachey was running the whole show.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't feel like Nick spoke twice.
She-
It was just Vanessa's show.
yeah, they had their highs and low moments. Here's what I didn't like about how they framed it. Shake sucks. We agree. I mean, Shake.
I was surprised at how I was like, whoa, dude. Like, I know that he's got some things to work out, but I felt bad for him.
I actually didn't. He actually.
I
We
was
had-
like, dude, like I would just not
we
want to
had-
be him.
We had Deep D on last week.
Mm.
And so we promoted some of the interview on my social, and one part of it was Deep D being critical of Shake, because whatever you think about whether Shake was being honest or not, or how he felt, or the structure of the show, like it was all at Deep D's expense. It was like, I
Yeah.
don't care who you are, but like you could have been more aware about the fact that you have the right not to be attracted to someone. But like you constantly saying that to anyone, I don't care who you look like that's kind of a dick move. And she was and we asked her like, has this guy ever apologized, anything, any kind of sympathy? And she's like, no, he would call me and like bitch to me about how he was portrayed, which is like really kind of never just like, hey, I'm sorry I said all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
even if
She's
it
a
wasn't you,
narcissist, essentially.
even if it wasn't how you intended it. So I really hated that. But the reunion made this. They were just like, you're on the wrong show. They made it set it up. They set it up that if you weren't attracted to someone physically, then it became a bad thing. And to me, that wasn't Shake's major crime.
Right.
It was the fact that he went about it in such a way that
It was very disrespectful.
it was disrespectful
Yeah.
to Deep D. And it's like, all right, bro, even if it's your first time on reality TV, you didn't realize what you got caught up in this experiment. You didn't come out and say, hey, I just want to open up by saying, you didn't deserve that, Deep D. I recognize now that if I were in your shoes, it would have been hard for me to hear. And that to me, that's all he had to say.
Yep.
But no, this guy goes on my fucking social in my comments and was just like, what did he say?
Oh, he told you to suck it, didn't
Well,
he?
that was after
Oh.
I responded.
Seems mature.
It was terrible. He was
Discourse.
I lost all sympathy for him.
Yeah, I should say that I felt uncomfortable for him.
He-
Maybe not bad for him, but it's very
He
uncomfortable.
comments and he's like talking to Deep D, right? He goes, "By saw my character come out, you mean went back to dating my usual type?" Like, okay. Like, what were you expecting? You said no to me at the altar. You got upset, and I posted a picture with other girls. It was just very like, still like,
It
playing
seems
this
like the guy I
temper
dated when I
tantrum.
was like 17.
Exactly, right? So then I replied, because he's on my page. No, she means your complete lack of self-awareness that you so perfectly demonstrated with this comment. Learn how to take an L. And then he told me to suck a dick. Which
Sweet.
was, and I was just like, you know what? I tried to even, I always try to empathize with people, like
Yep.
not to excuse the behavior, but like, hey, listen, let's just, and I try to empathize with Shake. Maybe he just get caught up in the experiment. But now, like, this guy is an unapologetic douchebag.
Yeah, he has some issues.
But the way that the reunion went about it, they were trying to like shame Shake so much that when it got to Shayna, and they were like, and we interviewed Shayna too, they're like, well, Kyle was like, was it my looks? You could tell that Shayna was like, this is not the place to like say that I wasn't attracted to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
She's
saying?
like, I'll get crucified.
I will get crucified for it. And
Yeah, I agree
they
with
kind
you.
of took away from like it being okay to not be attracted to someone. Also, am I the only one who, when Shake said I was the only attracted to Vanessa, that she fucking loved that? She got all flirty and smiled, and Nick was all pissed, and Vanessa Lachey loved it for like at least 2 minutes. She was
She was
giggling.
like, I'm into this.
She's like, oh really?
Still got it. Still got it.
Like, I'm still the hottest one here. Like, I don't know. Maybe that was just me, but yeah, I just kind of I hated how they do that, because it kind of distracted the argument. I don't know if
Yeah.
you felt that way
No,
as well.
I agree with you. And it did, to your point, like it did make it seem like it's not okay to want to have attraction
Yeah.
to the person that you're going to be with.
It was just how rude he was and disrespectful, and the fact that he didn't consider or try to empathize with her point of view at all.
Yeah.
And
He
it
didn't
wasn't
treat her like
about
a human
not
being.
being and not about it wasn't about him not being attracted enough. And then like it definitely looked like he was trying to like just be a character, which was again annoying at her
I was
expense.
like, you don't have to play the villain, bro. You're already there.
I was reading about your. We sometimes we ask our guests, and we ask what's one area where men could be more empathetic towards women, and I was reading your answer. I think men could be more empathetic when it comes to her menstrual cycle as a whole. There are 4 phases throughout the entire month, and the hormonal fluctuations we face constantly that are So, do we unanimously feel that way, or men we date ignorant and are not as empathetic towards women
And their hormone
and their
fluctuations.
hormone fluctuations?
I mean, I clearly think so. I mean, I have a whole company on reproductive health, so I'm very
do?
yeah.
Do we want to talk about that? What's that?
Yeah, so it's called Hummingway. I launched it with my sister-in-law. Actually, we did a soft launch in October, but I've been working in it for like close to 3 years now. But yeah, it's become resoundingly clear that there is a massive lack of education surrounding our bodies and what's happening in them, and being able to kind of be our own health advocates is something that we're starting to see pushed to the forefront now. And there's still, I think, a lot of stigma that comes along with the way that men view women, their menstrual cycles, and their hormonal fluctuations. To play devil's advocate to that, I think that it's partially up to the women to be able to first educate themselves and then educate their partner, because the way that the system has been set up, men don't know anything about our bodies. We didn't know anything about our bodies until I think more recently in this kind of movement that we've seen. So I think it's just like an overall kind of educational process that needs to happen. But I think the instinct is for men to be like, oh my God, she's crazy. She's like probably in her period. And that's such a damaging thing to say and to think.
Yeah. What's the best way men can approach that?
I think to ask questions or to not make a person feel uncomfortable when they try to explain it. I know, listen, my husband's like in the thick of it because it's his wife and his sister, but it's a wonderful kind of, I guess, new layer in our relationship for him to go, oh yeah, you're like, he knows when I'm in my luteal phase versus when I'm in my follicular phase and how that affects me.
Which is which?
So follicular phase happens basically first, then you ovulate, and then you go into your luteal phase, and your luteal happens right before your period. So everything in your follicular phase is when like everything's pretty great. Your hormone levels are kind of rising. You have a lot of estrogen. Your skin looks great. You're a lot more social. And then you get to ovulation where all of this kind of peaks. You glow. It's wonderful. You have a ton of energy. And then you hit your luteal phase and you are a lot more emotional, a lot more drained, and a lot less social. The good thing about it is that you generally have the ability to focus. So I use it for like times when I need to read for 6 hours at a time, or write an essay or do whatever. But him just kind of knowing like, oh, you're in this phase, and these are the days that you're generally a lot more sensitive. He's more empathetic towards me, and that's all. Like the understanding of that just makes our relationship a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm ignorant in these things. These terms that Ashley's using, have you heard? Do you know about this stuff?
No. I also
'Cause I feel like this is like,
yeah.
I'm still learning stuff about my body and health, and my sister teaches me, and every time I learn something as we advance in life and become more knowledgeable about diets and workouts, it's always like, fuck, this is really helpful information to, like, if nothing else, is to your point, just to understand.
Yeah.
Like when you learned this stuff for the first time, were you like, oh my God?
It was mind blowing. And so like long story short, I got off hormonal birth control 3 years ago. And when I did, my whole body went crazy. My hormones were like in crazy fluctuation. I had crazy mood swings, adult acne, horrible cramps, and was just like, what is happening to my body? And it was really, for me, it was depressing and it was frustrating. And I just didn't know what I was supposed to do. And so I started educating myself. and finally got a handle on my menstrual cycle as a whole and was like, oh, I can work with it versus it owning me and it kind of working against me. And it's changed everything. Just the acknowledgement of, oh yeah, my hormones are going to be here during these days makes you go, oh, I'm not crazy. I just know that like this hormone happens to be higher right now and this is my response to it. So for me, it's extremely eye-opening and has kind of changed how I develop my social schedule, how I work out, how I do my skincare, what I eat. There's a whole, it's called cycle syncing, but like it's kind of a whole new world. And most women don't know about it, which is kind of bananas.
Yeah. I feel like that would be. I mean, where can people get more information about this?
Sorry, I just went on a tangent.
No, this is great.
But I'm passionate about it. But it's.
I think my audience will really be into it.
Yeah,
It's like 90% women.
It is. Yeah, we do Instagram lives all the time with we have a lot of medical advisors and people that specialize in this space. But ourhummingway.com is our website, and then that's the same handle for Instagram.
Great. I think Nick and Danielle are almost here, but before we get them on, I know you have a new podcast out, and I'd love you to talk about that a little bit. But obviously, from your time on Twilight, what is one or a few of the most like memorable moments in terms of filming, whether it's like behind the scenes or just like something like is nostalgic for you when you think about your time filming all those shows with the cast that like you find to be something you look back and it kind of always brings you a smile?
I think one of the there were quite a few of them, but we had like jam sessions in. Usually it was Rob's hotel room because he had the biggest room, and we would all go, and there was multiple musicians on the Twilight set, and so people would just bring their guitars, sing. We would drink, people would smoke, and it was just this wonderful bonding experience for us because we couldn't at that point really leave the hotel. Because it had become such a big thing. And so I think those moments are always something that's really special to us because it's kind of what made us a family. And then, I think the big scenes were always, we're together for that were fun. Like the baseball scene is something that I'll always remember because it was quite miserable while we were filming it. The weather was just intense and it was freezing. And we didn't know it was the first scene that we shot for Twilight. And so it was a super green kind of new experience for me. And seeing the way it turned out was super, super cool. Because I was like, this is not going to be good. I'm not going to look great. This is like, I don't know how to pitch a baseball. And it turned out really great. So that one stands out.
And you looked like an all-star.
Yeah, they're like, she definitely knows what she's doing. I mean, that's part of it, though. I think you kind of fib your way, to get the part sometimes. As long as you can fake it on screen.
That's great. Were there any like challenges you had while filming it? What's the thing other than like I'm assuming once it got so big, your life drastically changed for like you mentioned like, just even reality TV and dating, like your circle gets smaller, you get a little like guarded.
Yeah.
Was that a big adjustment for you in dealing with that?
It was a weird, like looking back on it now, I'm like, how did we survive this? But like I was 20, I turned 21 while we were filming the first one, and it was my first real job. Like I had done kind of like day player stuff and been like the girl who gets stabbed on one of the like NCIS shows, but it was my first real job. And so I think I was just like absorbing a lot of it and had no baseline of what this was supposed to be like. And so for me, I was just kind of like, oh, cool. This is great. Like I'm a working actor now. But as things go, I notice more now being able to look back in retrospect, how it might have not damaged me, but there were certainly effects that it had. Like I became a very it takes me a really long time to open up to people and to kind of expand my circle. And so you like start to see things like that. And like I was so concerned with the way I was perceived because Alice was such this beacon of light for so many young girls. And so like to be able, like when I was talking about earlier, like my husband's like, why don't you just like be yourself? And I'm like, because I'm sarcastic and I cuss and I like for so long was presented as this like lady that was Alice. And so like now I can kind of see those things, but I came out pretty unscathed.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, I've thought about that too. It's just I wonder how much being on reality TV has changed the psychology of my brain.
Yeah, I think same thing. Like anytime you're thrust into fame at all, I think it's a weird adjustment and it's just not normal. Yeah. And so I think it certainly has to affect you. And I would imagine it affects how open you are or were with people. Yeah. And realize pretty quickly that you have to choose your words. You know, like I think that you just want to like be yourself, but sometimes maybe you don't filter yourself at all. But I had to learn
I think
pretty
we all,
quickly.
to a certain extent. I mean, I think I've always been good at, I mean, where you're coming from is, and I'm coming from was different places. Like you had this expectation of living up to this character, and I was portrayed as a character, and I was kind of going the other direction sometimes of trying to show people who I thought I really was versus, the perception of things. But either way, like just even to have that thought of having to even worry about that, I think can really, it affects, I think, people, and it's just a weird thing.
And also the other thing I had to figure out was that it's okay to be one thing one moment and be something else the next moment. Like I think especially for us, we were 20s, and you're such a different human, from 20 to 25, from 25 to 30 and on. And I was so afraid to like change that because I was like, people know me as this. And it's like, at this point, I think you have to be a little, unapologetic about who you are.
Yeah. It's you kind of have to get to a point where you're just like, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid to, I'm going to be less self-conscious, I suppose.
Yeah, you just gotta be yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ashley, we're going to do this mediation call with.
Never been so nervous.
You are nervous? Don't be. I always get a little nervous too with the mediation calls. Like with the Ask Nicks, it's like breathing for me now. I don't even prep or whatever. I just sit down and I'm like, tell me your story, and I go. But with the mediation calls, it's a little. You're juggling a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you're only getting one person's story, which is great because I don't like.
I'm gonna side with you.
I'm gonna side with you. No, I'm just gonna. But
I'm just gonna let you lead.
I get a little nervous too. We'll be fine. And as people know, we're not.
We're just human.
We don't pretend to be experts. If you enjoy our answers, we're right. If not, well, we're not experts.
Maybe you misinterpreted.
Yeah. Let's let Nick and Danielle in. Nick and Danielle, welcome.
Whoa,
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I could not be more excited to have you guys on. As soon as I saw you on the show, I was like, my dream is to mediate a fight between Nick and Danielle. And I made some phone calls, and I said, all I really want is an opportunity to talk to you. You guys were me personally, my favorite couple. You gave us plenty of drama. Certainly, we weren't sure if you guys were going to make it. At the wedding, they really left us on a cliffhanger of who was going to say yes, who was going to say no. And at the reunion, you guys, seemed as happy as anyone. So congratulations on marriage. I promised the show I wouldn't talk too much about the show because we're going to make this about the mediation, so we can't wait to get into that. Nick, I have one question for you. How hot exactly was it at your wedding?
It was 90 degrees. It was like 60-something% humidity.
Yeah.
There wasn't a cloud in the sky. They left me out there for probably 20 minutes just baking
brutal.
Before Danielle came out. It was brutal. And I'm a sweater in general, so you put me in that situation, it's not good.
Same, man. I'm a sweater too. And we were talking about destination weddings earlier, and it's brutal being in the sun in a full-on tuxedo. It is torture. That was a dick move on their part. All right, well, let's get into it. All right.
Thank you.
Who wants to start telling the story about the thing that you guys are butting heads with?
So lately, it's really not been anything too crazy. It's simple stuff like growing pains of living together. And things like that.
What just like give us one? Yeah, that's the thing on these calls. It's always simple stuff. It was taco night with one couple. And it's always, but it's
radio stations in the car.
Yeah, but it's like we try to figure out how we can avoid butting heads on that.
I don't even try in the car. I just let her plug in. And
so what are
this mediation for the cat and the dog?
Yeah,
whatever it is. What are the things that you guys are kind of not like nothing that's breaking you guys up, but what are some things that you guys are bickering about on a regular basis?
I would say not necessarily bickering, but we definitely do have different cleanliness habits.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be a little bit more.
I don't like clutter. It makes me uncomfortable. I immediately have to get up.
Yeah, I was gonna guess that Nick was the tidier person.
Yeah.
I'm also a messy person, Danielle, so that's not coming from a place of judgment. But
Well, I wouldn't say messy. I would just say, like she's not messy. I would just say she has a lot of stuff. So it's like finding places for the stuff, or she'll have like 4 or 5 water glasses around the house. She denies it.
No, so he always gets annoyed because he's like, oh my God, you have like 3 different water glasses. This is the like 8th one that I've had to put in the dishwasher. I'm like, if you stop putting them in the dishwasher, I wouldn't have to get another one out of the cabinet. Right?
At that point, I always just ask my husband to take a lap around the house.
Yeah.
And then he picks up.
Like every time I'm using something, I'm not finished yet. And then I'll be like, where'd that knife go?
do you do that too?
And it's in the dishwasher.
Because I honestly, like, I am not a tidy. No one's ever accusing me of being like super tidy. So I'm not one to talk or criticize anyone. That being said, Natalie, my girlfriend, also leaves cups everywhere.
I don't do that. I have a water bottle that I just carry around with me, which probably eliminates that.
Me too. Same one all the time.
I'm with you.
Why is no one on my side on this? Everyone always takes Nick's side on this. It's not fair. I thought I had a good valid point.
No, Nick's. I can tell like Nick's too efficient for me. Like you're a practical person. I can tell like I'm not efficient or practical enough to always have a water bottle, and I probably leave cups around, but not like.
I get to the point like I go through that. My husband is more messy, and I'm not like super anally clean, but like I will like in the morning first thing, like I make sure the kitchen's clean. Like I will clean up after myself, or with him it's like I have to be like, here's your list. And like that's what I've come to terms with now, is that it's just like I have to make him list of things to do around the house, and then he'll do them. But yeah, I can't. He won't just do it on his own.
So right now, currently, you are just letting her know that the cups are out, and you guys get does it get on each other's nerves?
I just put them in the dishwasher now.
Oh, you don't say anything? Do you still make a comment?
I'll make a comment if she's around.
So, and I think I'm being like extra careful to be as clean as possible. But I feel like eventually it kind of slips. So it's like right now he hasn't seen the worst of it. But if it's like you go into the closet, there's a very obvious like difference between what his side is and what my side is. Because I kind of just shove things because I'm trying to be efficient. I'm like, I don't have time to fold like that.
Oh yeah. So that's another one that we were actually just talking about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I worked at Old Navy for a number of years. So I have like a very specific way that I fold things, because when you work at a clothing store, if you've ever have, it's like drilled into your head. This is how shirts are folded. This is how pants are folded. And her way of folding is just non-existent.
Yeah. No. I'm with Danielle. I worked at Express Men for like a month, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. This is not me. I don't know.
There's one time where I did his laundry, because he does mine like often too. And I like spent so much time trying to fold. Like I was so proud of myself for folding, and then he comes over and like unfolds it and refolds it. I'm like, I literally spent an hour trying to make it perfect.
I know it was sweet when she does try.
This might just be me, and I'm curious what you think about this, Ashley. So and you guys could take this however you want. But as I've gotten older, and especially now with my relationship with Natalie, I felt like part of like we all want to be better people, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're never finished products, self-improvement, therapy. These are all great things. We advocate for all of them. We should never stop trying to be a better person. I'm with that.
Yeah.
However, totally there are certain things that we just are not good at, And I think also part of getting older is being comfortable with who you are, and just being like, you know what? I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not. And I think for me, in relationships when I was younger, I didn't really totally understand the things that like, these are things I should never accept, and I should always work on these things, versus things of like, you know what, this is who I am. And I can still try to work on this, but especially with dating people and getting to know someone, it's kind of like, I just need to be honest with you. I'm never going to be good at this.
Yeah.
I don't close cabinets. I don't fold laundry. I will try, and you're welcome to remind me. But just so you know, like my brain says don't do it.
Yep.
And I think sometimes, I think when you're in a relationship, you kind of almost have to have those conversations of just acknowledging some of these basic strengths and weaknesses that, like, the way our personalities are and the way our brains are made, to say, babe, I love you. And yeah, I'll try. But I'm never going to be as good as you. It's never going to come as easy. So, like, are you going to be okay with that? And sometimes being okay with that, Nick, I will say, is just putting it in the dishwasher and not saying anything, because eventually it just sounds like it's just a reminder of something you're not good at.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? My brain, I don't know how to do it. Like, folding laundry for me is a nightmare.
I think it's about, like, there are, like, you do have to acknowledge what the other person just innately is not good at. But I think it is that idea that you are continuing to try for your partner every day, and to kind of, grow with them every day is the important step. Because, like, I've definitely, like, there is a certain point at which I'm like, it's not worth the battle, and I'll just do it. But, like, my husband and I created where I was like, all right, well, you're good at this and I'm good at this. So these are the things that, like, so I'm like, the yard is your job, like, I don't want to do the yard. You don't clearly know how to do laundry. So, like, that's our trade-off. And I think that's fair.
I think you just kind of work with things that you're like, strengths, weaknesses. Like, you think of your relationship in your house as kind of like this team or unit. You're trying to, like, we need to make this
You gotta work together.
you
Yeah.
know?
And then if not, also, like, I just don't have an attitude anymore where I'm like, hey, babe, can you do this? And then he does it right away. Or, like, if he's like, hey, I need you to do this, I do it right away. And there's no kind of negativity underneath it. It's just like, listen, I know that you're really not good at cleaning the house at all. So, like, I have to be like, today can you just do your office? And, like, I need you to change the water filters. And he's like, great. And, like, that's it. He does it. And then that's our happy medium.
Yeah, that works. Anything else, you guys? What else? What other little
We
things?
just have different definitions of things. Like, my definition of clean is different than his definition of clean. But I think that that's also, like, something that we're just, like, in general learning in couples therapy is, like, I'll say something and he'll say something, and our definitions of the word are just, like, different. So there is a lot of misinterpretations. And I think that at first, like, that was kind of like throughout the, show, and when we first got together, like, some of our, like, disagreements were just like, we were saying the same exact thing and we didn't even realize it, because, like, again, it's like different languages.
How are you finding the common ground when you are realize you're defining things differently?
Yeah. Well, it's actually like our therapist is almost like a translator. So she's, like, translating each other. Like, she's like, you're saying the same thing, you just don't recognize it. So we just, like, have to repeat back to each other what
a lot of
we actually
active listening stuff.
What are some things you guys have bickered about that you realize you're just misdefining? You're coming from a different point of views.
Well, the most recent one was when I was moving in. And then there was I had to get rid of a lot of stuff. He had to get rid of a lot of stuff. And he was like, I'm sad. And I thought he meant he was sad that I was moving in. And of course, like, I was being a little bit dramatic with that. And I'm like, you should be happy. And he's like, no, I'm sad that I'm getting rid of some old Bears jerseys and they suck now.
Yeah, like getting rid of some of my favorite players' jerseys from when the Bears were relevant. And I was like, oh, that was a nice time.
Did you make him get rid of the jerseys, or did you?
No. She was like, keep them. And I was like, there's really no point.
That was like, it was just literally so dumb, because I thought he was saying something completely different than he was. And then we started bickering about it. It's like.
But then, the other thing is, like, stop, take a step back, take a breather. I go walk the dog. She goes
crazy on G-Chat.
Or
who are you G-chatting?
Him.
Like, when we G-chat when we're working, so it's easier to communicate.
Are you fighting?
But that's why.
Are you fighting over text?
G-Chat when we're both working.
Danielle, please, for the love of God, save your energy.
I know.
Right.
It's another thing I'm working on. I'm just like, I'm gonna have to just, like, delete G-Chat.
And
I'm feeling a little.
I mean, I've been in plenty of fights with partners via text, and there is
so stupid.
nothing more inefficient. And yeah.
Are you better at those? Sometimes I find that I personally am better at expressing how I feel if I write it out versus if I say it. Like sometimes I'm like, I can't have this conversation because like I just want to blow up, and then like I'll go in the other room and I'll literally text him and be like, this is how I'm feeling,
like
and these are the underlying issues.
Well, I think everyone's different. I get that logic, but I think if you're gonna do that, especially with your husband or people you're comfortable with, write it down so you can like actively get your thoughts like lined up and realize, and then sit down with them. And even if it's as cheesy as like, all right, can I just read this to you because I thought about it and I put it down pen to paper. But even with people you've been dating and know, people don't read text how you wrote it. People read text how they're feeling. Just like imagine you got sensitive when he told you to your face about like getting rid of jerseys, and you still were in your feelings about like how you might interpret it. And it's magnified times, I don't know, 100 when you're reading it. Like, I mean, no emoji and no wink face can really articulate like how you're feeling. So and we've all made that mistake, but when you're just be like, all right, let's talk about this when we get home. Because like you're in my experience, you're more bound to create more things to fight about while trying to solve a fight via any type of written text communication.
Mine's usually like, I'm so sorry that I did that, and I it's not like me trying to like, I just like sometimes I'm like, I can't deal with this and I have to leave, and like we're not in a good place, and then I like have time to decompress, and then I'm like, I'm sorry that I did this. This is the way I was feeling.
If you're apologizing, fine. But if you're in the middle of a fight, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm dyslexic. I don't even like reading, and when I'm frustrated and emotional, I skim.
Yeah.
So I don't even fully read it.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, I agree with you. Like having a like argument over text is a horrible idea.
Yeah. So please, off the GTAT.
All I have to say right now, too, really quick, I keep looking back. The dog and cat are playing, so you're somehow mediating them because they've never played like
good
this
energy.
before.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
They're usually
this is actually the first time this has ever
They're
happened.
like, we love it when you guys speak your feelings.
We're bringing people together.
But yeah, no, we keep saying no more G chat or text fights, and then they sometimes still happen.
But heated.
Again, like seeing each other's facial expressions or hearing the tone of voice, like that's so important.
Yeah.
And so like, again, it's like everything's misinterpreted.
The other thing with texting and G chat, we're working our normal jobs. So you go into a meeting or you go into work for, a couple hours, and then a text goes unread or it sits there and then it marinates, or you read it and you don't have a thoughtful response. And then you're sitting there and you're marinating, you're stewing in your own juices. And then you come in even hotter than you were before. So it's just a bad idea.
Yeah. We need to stop.
A habit to break. But we've been a lot better about that.
I feel like if you're in a fight and you can't talk, the only text you should ever send is something to the effect of, I know we're angry at each other right now, but I love you and we'll get through this at home. And you're just like, no matter what, so that way that will diffuse the, I need to be right or we're angry at each other. It's like, and every time I get in a fight with my girlfriend, there's always like, you're going to be okay. And you're married, you're going to be okay. But there's always a feeling of like fear of it, like, of this like being a bigger issue or getting through it. And it feels like a very insecure place to be in when you're kind of at angst with your significant other.
I hate it.
It's a nerve wrack. So I get the wanting to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So if you can't solve the problem, just say the thing that you are, hey, we're going to be, I love you and we'll get through this. And I'm still going to fight with you when we get home.
We're going to have a difference in opinion.
and we'll find a common ground. But like that G chat.
Yeah.
Like,
one of the things that we also learned and that we're kind of finally able to do is there's times when our therapist is like, guys, this isn't important. Just drop it.
Yeah.
And so we're working, the last few months and just being like, you know what, this is stupid. Let's just drop it. Yeah. And then we just drop it and we go about our day. And, it's
Took us a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But we
That's
finally
big.
are doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's no longer was this one too many water glasses left out. I'm out of here.
Well,
so.
I mean, these girls always hear me say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I've had to learn not to compete with my partners.
Mhm.
I'm a naturally competitive person. And so if you're a competitive person, you're just naturally competitive.
Yep. With
And
everything.
With everything.
Yeah.
So when you're in a disagreement, like if you have any sense of pride, Natalie and I are prideful people. And it's kind of like sometimes we're just like I don't, even if I feel right, I don't need to
Doesn't
be
matter
right.
that much.
Doesn't matter
No.
that much. And yeah, that can be definitely a challenge.
Yep.
I'm
with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else before we let you guys go about anything
I
you guys
just
are
want to
picking
say,
with?
she's super competitive. I mean, we were talking about making chili a couple weeks ago, and she's just like, let's have a chili tasting contest. I'm like, why don't we just each have chili? It would be fun.
I make everything a competition. And he's like, can we not do that?
I mean, I think it can be okay. It's just you have to be able to kind of have the self-awareness to make it playful, you know?
Yeah.
And have you guys found that? Well, Nick, you brought up something I want to ask you about because you're correct me if I'm wrong, you seem to be the more practical person. Danielle seems to be the more like laissez-faire, like let's just and both have its advantages. Both are I mean, you could see how they'd be great in a relationship to have two people. When it comes to like you trying on the costumes, which was obviously a funny moment in the scene, like I'd love to hear from both of you. What are things from each other that you guys have that don't come naturally? You know, that it's like, oh, this is not in my comfort zone, that you think you've rubbed off on the other person in a positive way, where maybe you have first thought this is like weird or different or even uncomfortable, but instead of like resisting it, have learned to, embrace that and become a more well-rounded person as a result of some of the things that your partner's good at.
You want to go first?
Yeah. I know there's a lot of things with him. Like, I think one is he doesn't take what other people think about him or say about him like as seriously as I do. So I'm like learning from him how to kind of brush that off because like everyone, like even before this, it was like every single person I met, I was like, they have to like me. They have to like me. And now it's just like, they don't, not everyone's going to like you. And I think like he also does kind of like ground me, keeps me in more. I used to feel like I had to say yes to everyone and be around my friends all the time. And so now I'm kind of like, okay, I can sit at home. I can tell people no. Cause that was also hard. I was like a yes man. Like if you ask me 3 times, I say yes every time. And so it's like, he's like, you have to put boundaries up because you're going to like be emotionally drained if you're constantly saying yes to not only hanging out with people, but like always being like the friend that people call. And if I'm already like feeling upset about something, it's kind of like, it can get draining. So he's helping me with that.
Yeah. I have found true friends or stick around when you start setting boundaries and saying no, and they still come back. And people who aren't your real friends, they just will disappear when you start setting boundaries. Mm-hmm. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm actually really introverted, which a lot of people don't think when they meet me.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah.
Oh, really? I appreciate that. Most people are like, no, you're not. But I'm pretty introverted. Oh, go ahead.
I'm introverted. I'm more of an ambivert, but I have a lot of introverted characteristics. And yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. We got to unite on these things. Yeah. So I think for me, like there were times where I could go like literally weeks without seeing people or talking to people outside of work, and I'm fine. Like I like being with my own thoughts and in my own head. So what she's done is she's actually gets me out more in a positive way, doing things that I normally wouldn't do just because I would, not be out and about as much. So like going to more concerts, I've probably gone to more concerts in the last year than I had my
water
previous
parks
life. Yeah, like getting out to, I've always liked water parks, but I'm just getting out.
I fucking hate water parks. But
anyway. What?
I don't want to be in a line with naked people.
Okay.
I don't. It's just like,
it's not a nude water park.
Yeah,
well, like basically naked.
There's too much skin and not enough space is all I'm saying. Yeah. But I digress. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. So I would say she gets me out more in a good way, keeps me social. And then I think too, just the the way that she does drift towards people. Like I have 5 friends. They all know who they are just for me saying that I hang out with and I see regularly. And the rest of the people, I just keep casual touch with. But, she's got me more friends that are her friends, more friends that are our friends. And I think, just that element of it is really cool too, because it always keeps you on your toes in the way you think and what you do and all that stuff.
That's great.
And I've lightened up a little bit on costume wearing at random times and having rock band out over there.
He does it. He dances on tables. He wears costumes.
Yeah. My girlfriend made me less grumpy.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would say my husband
Yeah,
laughs
that
a lot.
works.
My husband's definitely the extrovert and like dances around and could care less what people think about him. And I was much more the introvert. It's good. It's a nice balance to have. I think if
Yeah.
you both kind of bring out the best in each other, like you don't want someone who's just like you.
Yeah.
No, totally agree.
I love that things are going well.
Yeah.
I love that for you guys. And that we usually end these things by saying one nice thing about the other, but I feel like you
That
guys
was
that was it.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing to Danielle. On the reunion at the end when you were standing up for Deep D, like I thought that was your absolute best moment, and the way you talked about Deep D with such confidence about who she was as a person.
Mhm.
I want that for yourself. Like I want you
I know.
the same way you talk about Deep D. I want you to talk to yourself about you, right? And Deep D is a great person. We know that, but like you were so open about your insecurities on the show and things like that, and that takes a lot of confidence to talk about your insecurities. But you were so you looked like you came across as such a confident, strong person when standing up for your friend. And I thought it was a great moment, and I would love for you to have to look in a mirror and stand up for yourself that way. And I just I had to say that.
I appreciate that a lot, and it's actually like since going through this experience, I was realizing like I'm my own worst enemy, and so I've done like a lot of like self-love work, and that was like one of the things. It's like, okay, talk to yourself like you're talking to your friend in every situation that you have, and I'm like, okay, I'm not that bad.
What other people think of you is none of your business, and as long as you're, I have to remind myself every day, but it is true. Well, glad to see you guys are doing well. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and best of luck to you guys. And I hope the cat and the dog keep playing with each other.
Can't thank you enough for that one. That's the real winners here. But thank you.
It's like I just saw like a kid walk for the first time seeing that. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on. This was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, our pleasure. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
What a lovely couple.
Oh my gosh, they're so sweet.
Yeah, I love that they're going through couples therapy, and it's a slightly different mediation call than we typically have, but
They're like, we love each other. We're great.
but they're still G-chatting. I feel like that was our big value add there, is to reinforce just how bad it is. And if you're listening and you're fighting with your significant other via text,
Don't do it.
there's no upside unless you're either apologizing and saying I love you, or reminding them we'll finish this at home.
But the passive aggressive G-chat, not a good idea.
It's fine or whatever. Like, and you can still be in a fight and still be in love and let your partner know that you still care about them and you still love them and it's going to be fine and you'll get through it. And if you feel fear about the fight you're in, chances are your partner does too. And it's a good time to maybe show some empathy and not focus on how right you are. And
yeah, I think it's like if you're going to disagree, do it respectfully. Like I think that's one of the biggest things is like we have disagreements all the time, but we're never disrespectful. And like we always take a breath and try and, I don't know, decompress a little bit before responding.
Yeah. I catch myself anytime I say something like, I will reference anything other than being in the present moment, which is something along the lines of, you always do this type of stuff. And I realize that I'm going off track. Yeah. Like you're not, and sometimes we like to reference those things to like advocate for our point of view in the moment, but I've now created the self-awareness to be like that's not helping.
Yeah, that's not going to help anything. It's just going to make the other person defensive.
Get defensive.
Yeah.
But it's something we always have to keep working on because
So easy to do.
so easy to do.
And when I get defensive, I just I see one mode, and it is win.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible way to go into any kind of disagreement.
It's tough. It's the human spirit is.
Yeah, because it's really like protect, but it's like protect in the form of win.
Yeah.
So it's like something gets like stirred up, and then it's like,
Oh yeah. Well, that's always the aftermath, right? Would be like the way that we argue has definitely evolved. But like in the start, I was very again like guarded, and like if he said something that like hit a nerve, it was like all bets were off, and I was just like extremely defensive, couldn't see where he was coming from whatsoever, and like the fight just didn't get anywhere until after I calmed down and was like, well, I said that because I felt this way when you said that, and like that was and then after that conversation was had, it was like, oh, well, I never wanted to make you feel that way, and like it was fine, but like our fights were a lot more long-winded previously. Yeah.
Darlene, my therapist, told me to after 10 minutes you got to take a time out, and honestly, that really worked. She says after 5 or 10 minutes, we go into we fight like we're children, literally.
Yeah.
Ashley, this has been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. Please let my audience know where they can follow you, listen to your podcast, all those amazing things you're doing. Please let them know.
Yeah, so you can follow me. My handle on Instagram is Ashley Greene. We are launching the Twilight Effect podcast on the 15th. You can listen to it on Apple Podcast or anywhere you get your podcast. You can also watch us on YouTube.
Just like they record. In the same room
We do record. This
right
is something
here.
I was not aware of when we went into the podcast.
What's that?
That they were also recorded.
Oh, in a video?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh God.
Not everyone does, though.
I know. But I feel like it's again, like Twilight is such a fan heavy, like they have been in this world for such a long time that I think the viewing element is just a wonderful gift to give them.
Yeah, we definitely on our show have a contingent of people who want to just watch it visually, and especially like with certain guests, and if they're like,
you better
fans
believe
of,
I
they
have
wanna
Batman
watch,
on. They're gonna watch that
they're
one.
gonna watch when you have Batman on. I probably would watch that one too.
Yeah.
He's very pretty.
And like people's mannerisms, like I probably, well, that's a lie. I listen to them, but I do like watching people's interviews.
Yeah, it just depends.
I'm
Yeah.
usually in the car when I listen to my podcast, though.
It's been a pleasure, Ashley.
Thank
I
you
really
so much.
appreciate it. Make sure you follow Ashley. Check out her new podcast. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castmedia.com, cast with a K, for both our Ask Nick episodes and our mediation calls for all the couples out there. Friends, let's focus on friends. I don't know if we're ever going to get coworkers. Friend fights, disagreements, dating relationships. As you guys are hearing, this is not people get afraid. We always try to remind our audience we're not here to pick a winner.
Yep.
We're just here. And you call on a favor to your boyfriend or fiance. Say you want to do this. You'll be better off for it. Write us. Get on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. You get to be anonymous. Don't forget, 4 episodes next week. Our Ask Nick, 2 Bachelor recaps, and we are getting the front runner. I've been told we're going to get the most upset woman
thank God.
on the show.
Ooh.
What a title to have.
The most
upset woman from season whatever of The Bachelor.
Coming directly from AFR to this studio.
I'm just going to come and watch that one because I'm a fan of the show.
You're not caught up. Wild stuff. You're not going to want to miss a moment of it. So tune in. We'll see you next week. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching, but before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Mondays Ask Nick for your favorite relationship stories and advice, and our Tuesday Bachelor recaps. See you next time.